Okay, that's another very important question, because the longer we are in space, you're away from your family. You're isolated, maybe with a small crew to start with. You're contained in a small environment, and so a lot of our psychologists, sociologists, and behavioral scientists study the effects of isolation on crews that are operating in extreme environments. There's a lot of really good books. One of them is was by a NASA scientist, Nick Knass, Knass, I believe. He's working in California right now. We could also ask him to participate with our students at some point to learn about this. But as you read these reports, as you read these studies, you'll learn what these scientists have been doing to collect data to see how these crews are performing psychologically in space. Some of the training that we do is typically they put groups of crews that are going to be a crew in space for an extended period of time. They go through training together. They might do extreme training together, like they'll take a crew and they'll have extreme cold weather survival training, and there'll be 10 days hiking and on a frozen lake bed in Canada. And they have to operate as a team. They have to solve challenges together as a team as they're in this very extreme cold environment, carrying hundreds of pounds of equipment and clothing and food by sled. And so we have these extreme environments that we place these astronauts in for short periods of time. And what we learn is that these extreme conditions sometimes bring out and accentuate the certain behaviors in us that come out very quickly, and we can learn a lot from how our astronauts are going to perform over extended periods of time, maybe by putting them in these extreme conditions. And so we're constantly learning as we do this. We're gaining more data as our astronauts spend longer and longer time, for instance, on the space station. So there are different ways of doing it in analog environments, on the surface of the Earth, on space station in near-Earth orbit, and then as we go further and further out in space, we're constantly collecting information on how humans behave in space, not only physically, but psychologically.
I guess having this meeting with Kapaske could also be helpful for our Joensuu teams who are working with the Mars habitat experience here for Earth. So they would also learn about these mental issues that the astronauts are facing.
Absolutely. You know, I've never done a long duration flight. The longest, my mission was a shuttle mission to space station, but we were only there for 14 days. Some of these folks like Tim Coper that have been on space station for over 6 months. Some of our astronauts and cosmonauts have been in space over a year at a time. And that's where you really can get some good data, and you'll get some folks that'll have maybe slightly different answers than I have as to what affected them and how.